Well, hello, crafty friends. Hi, Mary R. and Annette, Betty G. And is that it?
No.
So far? Who else we got there? Sharma. Hello, Sharma.
I think that was it.
Hello, hello, hello. Well, let's take a minute and take a look at what's in our kit. I went in to take a look at how many kits went out the door for this class today, and before I got there, I managed to get distracted by an order note and never did look and see how many people we had working along today. So I guess we'll just be surprised. This is your class kit. It is, you get the Embellishment Attic Bow Perfection magazine. If you happen to find any tutorials by Bow Perfection, you'll find that we actually use their tool very differently than they do. And ours are better. So don't get confused, just do what we do. So most of the bows that we make in class, I've made up, although we do the Kathy Girly Girl bow, and that is an invention of Kathy from our classes here. So inside your kit, you're going to get the actual bow maker. It's attached to the front of your magazine. It also has some ideas about how you can use the bow maker to make some, it's especially seasonal things, so there's a few cute things in here, and it does have some nice Christmas papers in it, which was pointed out. I think it was Mary R that told me that we had the nice Christmas papers in it. So it's got some nice ideas. So you get the Bow Maker magazine, the Bow Maker. You're going to get a packet. It doesn't look huge here, but when we actually open it up, it's got a lot of ribbon. And this ribbon represents a lot of staff time to cut all of that ribbon. You're also going to get the components to make a card. And that is because I want to not only show you how to make your bows, I want to show you how to attach it to a card and how to use the bow pins we're also going to make. So you have the components to make a card. You have a bow pin kit. In your kit, you're going to have all the components to make some bow pins, which we're actually going to do first because we need to give these a few minutes to dry. You'll also have a separate piece of ribbon. This is for your card, so don't mix it up with your other ribbon. You'll also have some ribbon slides in there and some foam tape that we're going to use to attach your bow pin. So that little kit is in there. Let's set those off to the side. Let's go ahead while we're waiting for some of the others to get here. We'll get our bow pins started. And I started making bow pins when they came. I noticed them on cards that Sue Wilson from Creative Expressions was making. And I just thought they were so pretty. So I went out to Creative Expressions and looked to see how much it would be to carry those bow pins in our store. Excuse me. And the bow pins they had on Creative Expressions were like $7.95 for 6 of them. It was more than $1 a piece for the bow pins. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. We don't have to charge that much. We could make those ourselves. And so a new concept came into being. And I have to say, I have not been good about keeping my bow pin kits stocked because they too were a lot of work. But recently, I placed an order directly to China, bought a lot of my materials directly from China this time. And while they were sending them, I had them go ahead and pre-package and pre-string some of the materials so it would be a lot faster and easier. Instead of counting stuff, we could just grab a package of this and a package of this and a package of this. So bow pins, big kit of bow pins is back. Okay, when you're making a bow pin, there's a few things that we need to take into consideration. You want a really good strong glue, but just to hold them in place, hold the beads on the pin because you're gluing to metal. You do not need to have really heavy-duty pins. In fact, if you're using heavy-duty jewelry style pins, you're wasting your money because bow pins just don't take a lot of wear and tear on the card. We can use, I think these are 28 gauge, very, very lightweight pins, which would be totally unacceptable for making jewelry, but absolutely perfect for making bow pins. And you can go ahead and just thread on a few beads. Now, there's no rhyme or reason, there's no order to what you put on. I do think they look better. The bow pins look better if you vary the designs a little bit. So I always think that's good. I'm just going to feed a few of my little beads on here. And this time I'm just going to put 3. The the clear beads we put in your kits are especially beautiful, and they should be because they're glass beads, way more expensive, but it's the only ones I found that really look consistently good. So I put glass beads in for your clear beads. The others are going to be acrylic or plastic. It doesn't matter. All we're looking for is just a kind of an overall impression. When you are ready to glue, I keep grabbing that glue bottle. I've got to change out the cap on that one. When you're ready to glue it, I have a recommendation for how you do that. What I like to do is get my beads on there, and then I like to move my last bead down. I put my glue directly on the pin between the last bead and the next one up. And then I slide the bead up over the glue so that it just kind of disappears. I'm using my regular Cosmic Shimmer glue today. Normally, when you're using the actual bow pin kit that we sell, I give you a bottle of not a bottle, one of the little containers of crystal lacquer in it. That crystal lacquer dries hard as a rock, and I find it to be a great adhesive for my bow pins because once it sets, they're not going anywhere. When you're making bow pins, I recommend that you keep the size of the beads down. We don't want the bow pins to take over. We just want to have pretty little accents. On a card, I usually use 2 to 3 bow pins at a time. Normally 3 because I like odd numbers and things for my card making. This is what we include. Thank you, Grace. This is what we include in the kits. It does take quite a long time to dry, and I'm going to just slide my bead back. Keep your beads really small, not to exceed 6 millimeters. I have a 6mm one here. I'll show you momentarily. So I put my glue right on the wire between the final bead and the very last bead and the one before it, and then I slide my bead back in place. These will be pretty on our card. I like them to dry, oops. I like them to dry kind of standing up so that the beads don't slide down. Can't always do it, but just leaning them up against something so they'll stay. This is a 6mm, and this is the largest you would want to have usually in a bead pin. I gave you enough materials to easily make. You have wires for 6, you have beads for 10, 12. But you got to have choices, right? Choices are important. So I'm going to make this one just a little bit longer. Don't make them terribly long, though, because you have to have enough wire to put through to hold it in place. So I'm going to make this one just about as long as I would ever go. Let's see. Would you get me a tissue out of the bathroom, please? And that's about as long as I would ever want to go with a bead pin. I have a fly flying around my desk. We should get Teddy. Teddy loves to go on fly search. Get off of me. I have no idea why I have a fly in here. We must have left the door open at some point. And he has come in for a visit. So I'm just going to do that many of them because that's what we're going to use for my card. Thank you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to have some extra pins. I'm going to have some extra beads. I'm going to go ahead and put these back in this baggie, and I'll take my other supplies out. Set them on my desk. Let's take it. So go ahead, if you haven't already, and get your bead pins made so that when we're ready to attach them to our card, they'll be dry enough to use. Truth is, they'll probably still slide on me a bit, but we'll make it work. Have I told you guys? I think I have. This is our number 1 most favorite class we teach. The reviews of this particular class have just been out of this world. People love this bow making class, and for good reason. I'm going to set my magazine aside because there's no sense I need to. Here, set that over there to go back to Brit. There's no reason I need to open another bow maker when I have a perfectly acceptable one just like it sitting here. Let's get into our ribbon packet. And we're going to get started in our adventures in bow making. With our Embellishment Addict bow maker, when you let these ribbons actually go, it's a ginormous pile of ribbon that you guys get in this kit. Okay. All right. We're going to start by just tying a simple little bow. I'm looking to see if I have any shorter pieces of ribbon in here. I think for the most part, they're mostly a yard or more. So I'm just going to pick a piece of ribbon. There is not really a front or back to these bow makers. It does have the little logo on the front here, so I would assume that's their intent to be the front, but it really doesn't matter. It's exactly the same from the front or the back on this one. Some of the bow makers, this one doesn't, but some of the bow makers actually have numbers on the tine. That's really nice when they do. What are you doing to me here?
What? The chat disappeared.
Yes, it
Trying
did.
to get it back.
Okay. Okay. I thought that was your doing, that it was disappearing. I understand. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to tie a just there. Oops, no.
It's notifications, but chat is just.
This fly is going to drive me crazy. Get out of here. Okay. All right. I'm going to put my ribbon right through one of these little channels at the bottom. People ask me what those little channels are for. They're holders. Those are holders to just help hang on to your ribbon while you're working. So I'm going to put my ribbon right through that little channel. And now I'm going to lay my ribbon across the front of my bow maker.
I want to say hi to Adeline and Glenn and Thelma and Martha G.
Hello, hello. Adeline and Glenn and Thelma and Martha G. Good to see you guys out there. Hope you have your bow makers and that you're working along. If you already have one, let's do some practice and maybe you'll pick up some new techniques today. If you don't already, or if you're working with me for the first time, that's terrific. If you don't have this yet, you want to jump online and get one of these because this is just the niftiest tool ever. Okay, so I'm laying my ribbon across the front. Now, when I talk to you, I'm going to be talking about 1 through 5. That represents these little teeth here. Okay? And then I start numbering again up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got little 5s. The first one is my little measure. The second one's my big measure. Okay?
Hello to Roberta.
Hello, Roberta. So we're going to start by just tying a simple bow at 5, just a single bow. I'm going to bring my ribbon over here to the 5th tine. Okay? On my right-hand side. Might look like your left-hand side because we're working backward from one another. But I always go to the right first because I'm right-handed. I think you could go to the left if you're left-handed. And I go just under that one tooth. See that? I call them teeth because this reminds me of a comb or a hair pick. And then after I've wrapped around that tooth, I'm going to go to the left-hand side of my comb and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. And I'm just going to pick up that one tooth. This is what it looks like from the back. Okay? Once I've done that, I'm going to go down through the hole. Then I'm going to, once I'm on the back, I'm going to kind of shimmy this bow up a little bit so everything is up on the teeth. See what I mean? I'm using this string I've pulled through from the center hole there to just kind of pull that up onto the teeth. I'm keeping track of which side's up because this is double-sided ribbon. And right here between the two number 1s, I'm going to come back through with it. When I come back through, it's going to disappear from that side completely and it's going to be on my side of the comb. I'm going to loosen this from the holder, this first piece. I'm going to twist these around a little bit so that what I want is for the polka dotted side of my ribbon, when I tie my knot, I want the polka dotted side of my ribbon to face down on my comb because I'm actually working from the back and I want to be looking at the back of this ribbon now. Let's take this off. Once I've tied a half knot, you don't have to tie a full knot. Once I've tied a half knot, I can pull my bow off and I have an absolutely perfect little single bow. I'm going to grab a pair of scissors here. That fly is just being a nuisance. I was working with my scissors last night with a paper project, so I'm going to run them through my Fiskars a few times. This is my Fiskars scissor sharpener, which allows me to be able to dull my scissors with paper and then turn around and use them on ribbon. Okay, I'm going to clip this into a whale tail, and to do that, I can either, if I'm making a lot of bows ahead of time, a lot of times I'll leave the tails longer in case I want to wrap it around my card. But this time, I'm just going to clip it off so I can show you the whale tail. To make a whale tail, I'm going to take the front of my ribbon and fold it together in a taco so that I'm looking at the back. It's folded at the bottom just like a taco. And once I've done that, I'm going to clip upward and towards the end of my ribbon. And what that does, that little fold, make sure, what's the matter?
The chat's gotten spicy tonight.
Oh, I can't see it.
I know. You would be cackling. You'd be on the floor, actually, if you could.
Okay, I'm going to make a taco on this side. I'm going to clip upward at an angle, and that's going to give me a nice even whale tail. And there's my beautiful first bow. Let's do it again, because we have a little piece of ribbon left here. I'm going to put this in the holder. We're doing exactly the same thing. I'm going to I'm laying this across the face of my bow maker. I'm coming to number 5. I'm going to wrap just around that one tooth. This is different than we did this at first when we did this. I used to do it differently, and now I've learned I get better results if we just wrap around a single tooth. Once I've done the right side, whatever I do to the right, I need to do to the left. I'm going to come across the top. See, this is going across my bow maker. I'm going to go down through the hole. I'm going to use that ribbon that I just took down, and I'm going to use that to kind of slide all of my ribbon up a little bit on my bow maker. I'm coming back through between the two number 1s, and I'm going to tie a half knot right here. Now, I would like to have my dark blue side without the polka dots showing as I pull my bow tight, because I want my polka dots to face the front. So I'm going to twist this a little bit as necessary. As I pull it into my bow, I'm going to twist that a little bit to make sure that my polka dots are facing upward. I pull it off my comb. Sometimes I have to, as I'm tying it off, it gets longer on one side than the other, so sometimes I kind of move my knot a little bit. I'm going to make my taco. I'm going to clip from the bottom, from the folded side, up and outward towards the end of my ribbon to get that pretty whale tail in my ribbon. Folded side, up and outward. There we go. Now, once I've done that, sometimes people will ask me, well, how do I get my tails to go down? You just pull them down if that's what you want them to do. Sometimes I let my the tails of my ribbon kind of go in different directions. I tend to tie them, if I'm going to cut them off shorter, I tend to still leave a little length so that I've got some flexibility when I go to use the bow for, how long my tails are. I can always clip them more later. And now we've used all but that tiny little piece. I know some of you use these like for tabs in your journals and things. Okay, you can't get the chat back for me? Okay.
I don't know where it went.
All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie a double. Using a similar ribbon. Let's use this red ribbon. We're going to tie it double. Okay. Everybody can hear me though and see me, right?
Yep. You're fine.
Okay, you're going to have to watch my comments then and tell me if I've got questions.
I'm watching the comments.
Okay. All right. I've got my red. This is going to be a little hard to see because it's red on red, but I'm laying my polka dotted ribbon across the face of my bow maker. This one's a satin. The last one was kind of a twill. This one's a satin. It works exactly the same way, except that it can be just a little bit slippery. I'm picking up around number 5. There's nothing magical about number 5, except that it's a 2-inch bow. And that's really a common size to use on our cards. I could make it at a 4 and make it like a 1 3/4, a 3 and make a 1 1/2. That's getting pretty small, but I could do that. Okay, this time I've gone to number 5 and just picked up that single tooth. I've come across and see how my ribbon is upside down there. That's normal. It should be. I'm picking up the number 5 on the other side. This time, instead of going down through the hole, I'm going to come back to number 5 again. And I'm going to pick up number 5 again. And this time I'm going to come across my comb. I'm going to pick up number 5 a second time there. Once I've done that, now I'm going to go down through the hole. And you can see where using your ribbon to kind of pull everything up onto your bow maker becomes kind of more important the more strands of ribbon that we have there. So I'm pulling that along. Here's my ribbon on the back. This is what it looks like. I'm coming through between the two number 1 teeth. I'm going to loose my ribbon from the holder at the bottom, which really never was very tight anyway. I'm going to wrap one end over the other. I want to be looking at the back of my ribbon because it is a directional ribbon, and I want to make sure that the ends of my bow are facing forward, or excuse me, that they're facing forward, that the polka dots will be facing forward. I'm going to pull my bow off the comb and look at this beautiful little double bow we just tied. So pretty. And you got 2 separate loops on each side, but it forms a really nice, pretty, fuller bow. This is a 3/8 inch ribbon that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and clip the ends a little bit. Fold it like a taco. This particular end is not wanting to stay forward, but I can take care of that when I glue it. Okay, now I'm going to fold it like a taco. I'm going to clip it upward at an angle towards the end of my towards the end of my ribbon.
Betty says it's very pretty, Debbie.
And there we go. Okay. One side's dramatically longer than the other, so I think I'll flip this one again.
Glenn says, thank you so much for the demonstration, Debbie.
Who said that?
Glenn.
Oh, you're welcome, Glenn. Thank you, Betty. Kind of like eating spaghetti, you know, spaghetti and sauce. I trim one side, the other looks too long. I trim the other side, one looks too long. But there's my pretty little bow. Let's make another double since we have, actually I may only have enough for a single, but let's find out.
Adeline says, so Debbie, it's cold up and cut up.
It's what? Fold up?
Cold, it's cold up and cut up.
Okay.
If you logged into the YouTube on your computer in front of you,
Uh-huh.
and then hit your mute button, you could watch the chat on your computer at least.
Okay.
And it says you need to go back and read the chat because it was pretty spicy.
Oh.
She thought she was cold and needed a cup of tea, but not anymore.
Okay, let me get in there.
Oh. And that thinks, and Adeline was trying to say, it's fold up and cut up.
Yes. Fold up and cut up.
When it comes to cooking, I like to kick it up a notch.
Well, now we've heard from Emerald.
Or autocorrect changed it.
Okay, gotta get that on a big screen so I can see the chat. I don't know if I'll be able to read it from here anyway. Then I gotta silence it. There we go. Yeah, go back to play. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. I think I got it. All right. Okay. Thelma and Glenn are getting married in a supermarket. All righty.
The only aisle Glenn says he's going down is the supermarket aisle. But Martha volunteered her sister, almost to be sister, to make the flowers for the supermarket aisle.
Oh, okie dokie. I don't know if I got enough for a double here. If I really pull the tails in, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be a real close one. I could do it smaller. Let's do that. I'm going to make like a 3. This is going to be a little tiny bow. Not far to the cake aisle. Are we invited? Okay, I'm going to make a 3. So I'm starting on peg number 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm wrapping around that one. I'm coming to the other side and I'm wrapping around the 3. You can see this is going to be a little tiny bow. And we'll see how it turns out. I don't know. Little singles turn out well. I don't know how a little double will turn out. But we might as well figure it out. I'm not going to do 2. Well, maybe I will. I don't know. I was going to say I'm not going to do 2 of everything, but that could be a lie. I might. Okay. Let's see how our little tiny bow turns out. Oh, just cute as a button. Look at that. That is cute as a button.
Looks like you should see it on Minnie Mouse's head.
Yeah, it really would look good on a Minnie Mouse. Okay. All right, let's try something new. I'm going to show you. We've done singles, we've done doubles. We can do a triple all on the same, but I have to be honest that I very much prefer to do one loop longer, but let's try a triple just for the heck of it. This is going to be one of our woven iridescent ribbons. It's beautiful. That gorgeous shine. It is directional, but not very directional. Let's start at 5. Let's go to 5 again. Hi, Catherine. We're going to come to 5 again. Just pick up that one number 5 and come to 5 again. So you can see the darker side is the front. Let's go back to 5 again, third time. And let's go back to 5 again. Let's go, this time instead of coming across, we're going to go down through the hole. We're going to use that piece of ribbon to kind of pull everything up a little bit. We want to make sure that the back of our ribbon is facing the, that from the back side, we're seeing the front of our ribbon, because we want that loop around the center to be our darker ribbon, right? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to, one of the ways I find that it helps me to get the tails to face the right direction is if, when I go to tie it, both of the front parts are facing me. So I want both the pretty sides facing me, and then I can kind of wrap that under and twist as I go to get the back side to show. And now I've got the back side. Okay. All right, let's slide this off and see what a triple looks like. A triple just is more full yet. It is pretty. And it does look like I got the white side kind of partially wrapped around the center. It still looks pretty, but would have been nicer if the red side had stayed out. Fold my taco, clip upward and to the outside to make my whale tail. Do the same on the other side. Fold my taco, clip from the bottom and upward out towards the end of my ribbon. See how nice and sharp my scissors are against this ribbon after just a few passes. And here is my triple bow. I can move my tails where I want them to go. There's my triple. Let's see. I think we have enough for a double left. Yeah, go ahead and explain that to him, Annette. Hi, Oliver. How you doing, friend? Okay, to tie it double, I'm just going to my number 5. I'm picking up that number 5 tooth twice, down through the hole, back up. You're going to have a lot of bows tied. If you're working along with me, you're going to have a lot of bows tied up in advance here. You'll have one for everything. Okay.
Walker says, hello, Miss Debbie.
What's that?
Oliver says, hello, Miss Debbie.
Hello, Oliver, my friend. How you doing, buddy? Okay. This is a little softer ribbon, so it kind of has, kind of wants to do its own thing. Sometimes I really let them do their own thing. A lot of times I will put my bow on so one side goes down, the other side goes up. I kind of let it look artsy, if you know what I mean. It can look really artsy to just let the tails do what they want to do. But there is our double. Okay, let's do something different now. We've tied several of those. Let's tie my favorite, probably my favorite bow with my favorite material. In your stash of ribbon, it might be a different color. This ribbon right here that looks all wrinkly, the edges are a little bit rough. This is crepe ribbon. It's my absolute favorite ribbon. Yes, we sell it in the store. It's not cheap, but it is beautiful. We're going to tie a 515 with my crepe ribbon this time. I love this crepe ribbon. It's got so much wonderful body and it just ties up perfectly. It holds a knot well. Let's start with a 5, just like we normally do, right across the front of our comb. We're going to pick up just that one tooth. We're going to come to the other side. We're going to pick up the 5. Remember I told you we're starting counting again with the big teeth? We're going to go to number 1 on the big teeth.
Catherine says she loves that ribbon as well as the color.
Isn't it beautiful? Go to number 1. I can just shove this down. Did you notice that? When I'm getting more loops on, I can just shove it down on the comb. It won't affect the outcome of my bow at all. Now I'm going to go back to number 5. So I have loops at 5, and then 1, and then 5. Thus the 515 bow. I'm going to go down through the hole. I'm going to use the end of my ribbon to kind of pull my ribbon pieces up onto the comb. I'm going to come back through between the two number 1s at 0. I'm going to loose this ribbon from the holder. This is not a directional ribbon, so I don't have to care which side is up, which is always nice. That's one more thing that makes crepe ribbon fabulous. This is what it will look like from the back. Let's pull it off and see what we get. This is what we get for a bow. We got this beautiful one petal of our bow is larger. Let me show it to you this way so you can see it without the tails in the way. Isn't that beautiful? It's my favorite bow. I use it all the time. And look how pretty that comes off and how fast and easy that was to do. Isn't that crepe ribbon beautiful? Love it, love it, love it. Let's go ahead and clip these tails a bit. Fold it in half. Clip upward towards the end of my ribbon. I'm going to fold it in half. Clip upward towards the end of my ribbon. Make a point to never ever waste any of my crepe ribbons, so we'll tie another little bow here. See, I can pull these tails into whatever position I want.
Betty and Catherine say beautiful.
Okay, I never waste my crepe, so let's see if we can tie ourselves a little double or something. Never waste my crepe ribbon. So let's do a 4. Let's do a 4 doubled. I'm going to pick up number 4. I'm going to pick up the number 4 tying on the other side. I'm coming back to this side. I'm going to grab a number 4, that one tooth only. Come back and pick up the number 4 on the other side. You could always number these on your comb if you wanted to. I'm going to use my ribbon itself to pull that back up onto the teeth. I'm going to tie off. It does not matter which side's up. Crepe ribbon is wonderful. It is just the best tying ribbon. Here is my pretty little double that I have made out of my leftover piece of ribbon. Martha G, I love that bow. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and leave that little end longer in case I want to wrap this around the card. Okay, let's try something else. Here's another of my favorite ribbons. We do have these, I believe, in a combo pack, and I think I actually have a few rolls of this one. This is, its limited availability has been discontinued by Mayarts, the manufacturer, so when it's gone, I won't be able to get it again. In case you can see it very clearly there on your screen. It is blue and it fades to purple. It lightens up and then goes into purple. It is just the most gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay. All right. I'm not sure what the conversation has been while I've been away, while I've been incommunicado here. It does seem that the group may be a little out of,
You should probably take a break and scroll up.
The group's a little out of control today. Oh, Bryce is a lot out of control. Okay. I'm going to tie a 515. I'm sitting here doing this, thinking about comments and not even telling you what I'm doing. I did a 515. I wrapped it around the 5th tooth, came across to the left, grabbed the 5th tooth, came to the right, grabbed the number 1 larger tooth, came to the left, grabbed the number 1 larger tooth, and then went back to number 5 and number 5. Once I've got that number 5 in, I'm going to go down through the hole. I'm going to come up over here. I'm coming back through at number 1. This is not a directional ribbon, so I don't have to pay any attention to what side's up. I can just pull this into a beautiful bow. And let's see what this 515 looks like on this material. Check that out, guys. I do have, I believe there's some rolls of this left. Once they're gone forever. Look at that. Is that gorgeous or what? Let's talk for a minute about how to attach our bows. Now, you can use it, you can wrap them around your cards, which you've seen us do a bajillion times.
Annette says hers never looked that fluffy.
Might just be the difference in ribbon, Annette. I do pull mine pretty tight in the middle. I tend to think they look better with it really secured in the center. Okay, So I've got this. Boy, I love that. That is my colors all over that one. I'm going to leave this one with a little bit longer tails so I can wrap it if I want to, because I will be using that for sure. Isn't that just the most beautiful thing? Oh my gosh.
Say hi to Kim.
Hi, Kim. Okay, I have a little piece of this left. I can't waste it. Let's do a double at, I think I can get a double at 4. I always try to tie the biggest bow I can with the material I have left because I don't like to throw away the little ends. And I know Kathy Girly Girl would say, oh, I want to come and scavenge all those pieces that I'm seeing you throw away, but I can't keep everything. As much as I try. Bryce rolled his eyes when I said that because we're in a shop full of my treasures. Here's my double 4. So it's a little guy, but it's still really cute. For the right card, it will be beautiful. Okay, let's try something different again.
You were going to tell them about
I was going to tell them about glue, how to attach it. So you can attach bows with a glue dot, but have you ever noticed that when you're using something that's fibrous, like a ribbon or a bow, or when you are attaching felt, that sometimes a glue dot doesn't hold very well? What happens is that the fibers kind of mess up the glue surface and then it just kind of falls off over time. We have the answer to that with this product right here. This is the best glue ever. This is not the best glue ever for every application, but for this application, it's absolutely the best. It's from a company called Scrap Perfect here in the Pacific Northwest. Amy, who is the developer of Scrap Perfect, had the same problem. You know, what do you actually attach your embellishments with that are not going to let go over time? And this is what she came up with after much work and work with some, developers who were trying different formulas for her. This is basically a liquid glue dot. Well, if I just said that glue dots may or may not hold, what makes this special? Because it goes on in a liquid form, the Scrap Perfect Best Glue Ever gets into the fibers of your ribbon. It gets right into the material that the ribbon's made of, and it dries there, which means that it becomes part of that fabric. And when it dries,
You're asking what kind of tip do you have on your...
This is one of the Ranger tips. This actually, I just unscrewed it the wrong way. Let me put this back on the right way and then I'll show you how it's supposed to work. This is one of the Ranger tips. These are great for a lot of things. Look here, I've got one on my stickles too when I really want a fine line. These are those Ranger tips, or you can get the Best Glue Ever tips that are also developed by Amy at Scrap Perfect, but these are from Ranger. And when you're done using it, you put the pin that's in the cap right into the hole in the top of the dispenser. No, there's different sizes you can see here. See there, the Stickles takes a little one. The Best Glue Ever takes the larger size.
What size are you using?
This is the larger size.
The larger size.
And this is the smaller size for my Stickles bottle. Okay. So it has a little pin in it that keeps it all nice and keeps my material inside fresh, because there is no air getting to that thing. And what I like about this is that the best glue ever, it does not take a lot. And in fact, when you're working with ribbon, especially like crepe ribbons and organza, you don't want a lot of glue on there. You want just enough to get it to stick well and to stay where you put it. So this is about what I would put on. See the little tiny thin stripes of glue I put on there? Do not stick it to your card at this point in time. Absolutely not. Do not stick it to your card. You're not going to put it on your card until it turns to a glue dot. Glue dots never have trouble hanging onto the paper. What they have trouble with is holding on to fibrous material. And if that fibrous material is part of the glue dot, that really means your bow is not going anywhere. It's going to stick and it's going to stay nicely. It will be ever so slightly repositionable, but I don't recommend repositioning it. Once this dries clear and I don't see the white at all anymore, then it's ready to put on my card. I'm going to set that aside and I'll show it to you when it's dry. And then it's usable. The only complaint I have ever had about the best glue ever, one lady wrote and said, I don't know why you say this is such good stuff. I can't get it to stick at all. So I wrote back to her and said, did you let it dry? And she said, oh yeah, I was supposed to do that, wasn't I? It doesn't work worth a darn. It's not even hardly sticky until it dries. Once it dries, it becomes great. Okay, so we talked about adhesives. Let's do something different. Let's do
Is it this one?
that's one of them. That's the best glue ever one. If you look in that same category, you'll find the others. There's middle tips. Yeah. Remember how I said right above the item, if you go into that item for that cap, go into the item. No, not that one. Go up to the no clogs, that one. And then you choose from above the item itself that, yeah, see where it says, oh, I guess it's just under adhesives. Okay, go ahead and click on the glue. And now slide down till you find it.
Oh.
There we go. Ranger fine tip. So yeah, the one I'm using, you had them both right there, right there. Fine tip and fine tip 2 ounce. The 0.5 ounce applicator is for stickles, and the 2 ounce is for your best glue ever. Let's tie 2 ribbons at one time. Huh? What?
Well, I can't chat, so I can't send it.
Oh. Did you get the chat back?
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying you got the chat back. I was going to get excited. Okay. Let's try one with 2 ribbons at one time. I've got this white glittery stuff. It really doesn't look like much at all when it's done alone, but when it's done with something else, it can be quite pretty.
Good night, Adeline.
Good night, Adeline. A lot of times what I like to do is use this sparkly kind of ribbon, and you'll see it. It's in the stores. It's just the one that you get, and then it's a little bit harder to use. So it sits in your cupboard unless you get ideas for how to use it. Because it isn't particularly pretty when it's tied up alone. I'm going to do a 5. Let's see, what am I? Do I have enough here? Yeah, I do. I'm going to try a 5-1-5 with both of these together. I've got the satin. I put the glittery one to the inside. I want the satin to be my featured ribbon. And I put the glittery one to the inside. So now I've got a 1. I'm going to go back to the 5 again. I'll go down through the hole. You can hear the ribbon. It's kind of scratchy, that white stuff. It looks like it'd be so soft and...
Sharma had asked while I was searching that, did you do a Kathy girl bow?
Not yet, we will. We will be doing a Kathy girl bow, sure enough. Okay, I'm going to pull this back through. Now I have a lot of ribbon on this comb this time. And I'm going to pull this all up. I'm going to have
Annette made a double ribbon bow the other day and amazed herself.
Good job, Annette. Now I'm going to pull this. This probably is not going to pull as tight as my average ribbons because there's a lot of different ribbon hanging out here. I'll pull it off. And this may be when I have to tighten a bit when I get it off the comb. This one, yeah, I guess it's going to look okay. I'm going to have to fluff it a little bit. It's really big. I'm not sure I care too much for it, truly. It would be better with 2 smaller ribbons, I think. Maybe we should try this again with 2 smaller ones because I don't like this one much. Sometimes I decide that. The good news is I haven't ruined anything. I can take okay, I'm going to take that off and let's try 2 different ones, but let's try and see if we can get better results this time. Ooh. This might be interesting. Let's just try it with a smaller ribbon because I think I'm going to like that better. This time I have an organza ribbon and I have a satin. Let's try this again. Because it is very narrow ribbon and both pieces are narrow, I think I'm going to do a 4-5-4, which just means I'm going to start at the 4. I'm going to go to the 5. The good news is with that last ribbon, I didn't ruin anything. I can just retie that in something else. In fact, we're going to use that satin and tie a big, pretty satin bow. Go down through the hole. Use it to shimmy the ribbon back up. This is so much less weighty that we're going to get a lot better results. That satin ribbon was just a little too heavy to try out with. It probably would have worked okay with an organza or something that wasn't quite so heavy. I'm going to have the ribbons face me while I tie them, and then I'm going to pull them to where the back side of the satin is facing me. There we go. This is going to be much more satisfactory. Yes, I do like that one. With that pink with the satin. Isn't that pretty? I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. I'll cut this to where the tails are pretty even.
Hi to Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie. I probably have enough of this to tie a little tiny bow. I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, let's talk about a different kind of ribbon. Here are our glitter ribbons. This is some of our glitter ribbons. Same stuff you'll find in our store. Let's do a 515 with glitter ribbon. I love to teach this class in person and then watch people's faces the first time they tie something really spectacular.
Catherine says that iridescent ribbon was so beautiful.
Okay. 515 down through the hole, back up between the two zeros. This is not a directional ribbon, although it will leave glitter on my table. I don't know if you can see it, but I can certainly see the shine it's leaving behind. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Sometimes you just need to fluff them a little. You were saying that yours are never fluffy like mine, Annette. Sometimes I just put my fingers in the loops and kind of fluff them out a little.
Oh, here's Elsie.
Hi, Elsie.
Just popping in to say hi before going to bed.
So that's beautiful, huh? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous.
Oh, Sharma says, can you do it again? I'm assuming she's referring to you.
Can I do it again? What would you like me to do again, Sharma? Let's tie, oops. We're gonna do pretty much everything again. Let's do this satin ribbon that I tried to use a minute ago and I didn't like. Let's tie a larger bow. Let's tie a 515. I could even tie a 121 if I wanted to.
Yeah, do that.
Huh?
Do that. We've done a billion 515s.
Well, let's try it and see what, and make sure I have enough. I think so. This is going to be a bigger ribbon. It's going to be a 1. Now I'm going to the number 2 large tooth.
Sharma says the green.
Oh, the green. I'm not sure I have enough to completely redo the green, but I can try it. I can do like a double, maybe. I don't have enough of the green left to do it completely again, Sharma.
Mary R says, Debbie gets such tight half knots in the middle. I'm always afraid I'll break the plastic.
Well, it doesn't break very easily. I used to say they're indestructible. I can't say that anymore because I've replaced a few, but mostly that's because they get broken in the mail or something. Here's that big satin bow. I can tell I looped it correctly by looking at the back side of my comb before I take it off. See there? That 1 loop and 2. Let's see what this looks like. Pull this tight. Sometimes I do fluff them up a little. There's her big, beautiful bow.
Can you hold up one of your other bows you just did as a point of reference, the size difference?
Sure.
515 versus.
Here's a 454. Here's a 121. Here's a 515. So you can see it's actually considerably larger. This would have to be something that you used kind of like a focal point on a card rather than an accent bow. This would be something you'd use like as a focal. And you could also use the same concept to tie hair bows for your grandkids.
Betty says her bows tend to loosen and come apart.
Okay, let's talk about that because there is a solution. Margie came up with a solution to that. Satin especially will do that. Now, I can tell you that my favorite solution to the loosening bow problem, now I'm not sure I left myself enough satin. I might have to have you grab me a piece of satin off the wall. Grab me a piece of satin. It doesn't matter too much. Just white.
What satin it looks like.
White. See all that at the top? Grab me one of those. In fact, grab me a couple pieces of satin, the middle size. As much ribbon as I put in here, we're still going to grab some more ribbon to demonstrate the two. Get me one more color also, please. Okay, Bryce just brought me some 5/8 inch. This happens to be double face satin. So this is going to be slippery on both sides. The satin ribbon we sell by the yard is double face. Good news is that it is, it's gorgeous. And it's non-directional, so I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm tying a 515 with it. Thank you, that'll be beautiful. I'm not going to have to worry about whether or not it's right side up. The downside is it's slippery from both sides. I'm going to do everything as normal. If I have to tie my ribbons in advance, my personal preference is to tie my bows just before I use them. And when I do that, they don't have a chance to come apart. But
Sharma says she's having a tough time with the 515. She has the light blue bow maker.
okay, we'll use the light blue one in a second here, Sharma. Let's see if I'm going to need one, though. I had mine here, and I think it wandered. Okay. I'm going to take, before I tighten my bow, remember, this is the back. I'm going to put a piece of tape inside here. I'm going to put a piece of tape right inside my bow. Just before I tie my half knot. So I've got everything kind of pulled together. I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to tie my half knot on top. And you will see that what's going to happen is that I'm tying that tape right into it, and my ribbon that I'm using right this minute is going right over the top of it. This, by the way, is gorgeous. Okay, that is not going to come loose because it has tape right in the middle of the knot itself. Okay, Betty? This will not come undone on you. This is one that Margie came up with, and it works really well. Look at that beautiful double-face satin ribbon tied up. Is that gorgeous? My goodness, that's pretty. Let's do something different. This time, we're going to use one of these pretties.
Are you sure you don't have it? I'm not finding it anywhere.
I do have it.
Find the pink one. I don't have it.
Okay, we're going to tie the 515 in a minute. We'll tie one using the blue bow maker. We sell both. I don't have a preference for one over the other one. We put the red ones in the kits only because we have more of them. When I'm going to do this next technique, I start by creating myself a point on the end of one of my ribbons. I'm going to go ahead and tie this as I normally would. Isn't that gorgeous blue? Huh? And tie it as I normally would.
You're doing a 515?
Yeah. Down through the hole. But before I come back to the other side, I'm going to feed on this pretty little slider. We have a lot of different sliders in the store. These are very, very affordable. In the acrylic, we also have some, though, that are more ornate for those really special occasion cards. I'm going to push this down and down and down. I'm going to come back to the other side.
You're off camera.
Oops. I want it clear down. Clear down. I'm coming back to the other side with the tail of my ribbon. When you're shopping for sliders, you need to keep in mind directionality. Now this one is perfect as a slider. I'm going to pull this off. Sometimes when I use a ribbon that's just way too wide for it, I have to kind of position it with my nails. This is just feeding it on before it comes back to the other side. Isn't that pretty? Look at that beautiful pearlescent. You need to pay attention when you want to use sliders to directionality. Now this one doesn't matter whether it would go up and down or side to side. But some sliders are made to just slide on your card vertically, no, horizontally. They're made to just slide onto your card horizontally. And this is actually feeding on vertically. Because of that, you can get hearts that go the wrong way and that kind of thing. So the ones that we have in the store are all going to give you satisfactory results. But if you see some elsewhere and you're tempted, I want you to make sure before you buy a lot of them that your directions are going to be okay, because you'd be sad if your heart was pointed sideways.
Go and saying, OMG, that's great. Eddie says, love that one.
And these just come in a package. I don't remember how many. They're like 20 for $2.99 or something. So it's not expensive. It's not expensive at all. And isn't that fun? So that's another fun trick. Let's answer the question on the blue bow maker. Now the blue bow maker comes with this clip. And it actually has 2 bow makers. You might wonder, why does it come with the clip? Well, they, in their directions, give some examples for how you can run 2 ribbons at one time using the 2 different combs. The truth is, I actually have better results running 2 ribbons at one time using a single comb. So I just use these 2 separate bow makers. And I use them interchangeably. Let's do that blue ribbon again. Okay. On this bow maker, because it doesn't have the big, this one does, see if we can get it in close enough. This one does have numbers. I believe it does. Yeah, it's got numbers at the top. See the little tiny numbers?
You point to the top.
See the little numbers up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the top. So for us on the blue bow maker, it's going to be a 5, 6, 5. So I'm going to let me feed it on the right way. I'm going to go out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, here, and then I'm going to go to 5 on the other side. And then I'm going to go to 6. This is the same as a 5, 1, 5 on the red. It's a 5, 6, 5 on this one.
Can you show us the back?
Down through the hole. This is what it looks like from the back. Pull this up onto the comb. Tie it off in the back. This blue was just the perfect size, wasn't it?
I guessed it any better.
Half knot. Here's our beautiful, beautiful bow. Who was it that was having problems with the blue? Sharma. Does that answer your question, Sharma? Use a 5, 6, 5 on the blue one. You can use the little comb kind of interchangeably. Let's use this piece of purple lace. This is just a piece of purple lace. Let's see what we get.
I love the blue color.
That blue color is just rich and gorgeous. Okay. And that it's double-sided, so it's just, okay, if I'm going to tie a 4, 5, 4 on here using this purple lace, which means I'm going to come clear out to this outside tine on my comb.
Catherine says, Deb just loves blues, purples, lavender.
I do. I absolutely do.
Elsie says, so many beautiful bows, but mine never looked like this.
Down through the hole. You need an embellishment bow maker if you don't have one yet, Elsie. That's what you need. I could send you that very reasonable because I could send that in international first class. That would not cost a fortune. Catherine got a quote recently for Organza, and that was impossibly expensive to France. Okay, even though this is a lace, it's still...
Irma says, yes, the 5, 6, 5 worked.
Good.
It was confusing because the 1 was in the center.
Yeah, and the reason it has to be a 1 on the red bow maker is because I only have 5 little teeth. So then it goes back up to number 1. But that's why. Now this is a very stiff feeling ribbon. And this one, I'm going to have to work that center just a little to get this bow to turn out just right. Now I tied a 4, 5, 4 And I'm not liking this one much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart and show you that this same ribbon is going to look better if I just do a straight line bow. In other words, if I do a single or maybe a double, I'm going to tend to have better results with the purple lace because it kind of wants to be an inline bow rather than a fluffy bow because it's heavy. In fact, the next material we're going to work with here is going to be velvet. And velvet's the same way because it's very heavy. It really wants to be a single or usually just a single on the velvet. It's very, very pretty when tied up, but it really only wants to just have one layer. So let's try this. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'm kind of having to think my way through things that I've normally okay. We're going to do velvet. How are we doing on time? 3:26. We're fine. Okay. Now this, I think, looks much better. See there? And when I say an inline bow, that's kind of how this bow likes to be treated. I can bring the tails down, but this bow, in my mind, tends to look best when it's wrapped around a card and just left flat. I can fluff it a little bit, and I probably, if I was insistent, could pull the tails down. It's just, this is a little bit more difficult material, isn't it? And you're going to run into some of that. Let's try, speaking of awkward materials, I have a beautiful piece here of white velvet. It's just gorgeous. But you can see it's really thick. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. It's at least twice the thickness. Hi, Laura. This is at least twice the thickness of most ribbons. It's very fluffy. Let's tie a number 4. I'm going to come around the 4.
This is directional ribbon?
It is very directional ribbon. One side's all fluffy, the other side's flat. I'm going to come over to a 4. I'm going to go down through the hole. And this is another one that I personally think is best as an inline bow. Kind of an inline bow. I'm going to put the fluffy side towards me as I tie my half knot so that when I pull it and twist it at the same time, I'm going to get a pretty but heavy inline bow. If I tried to tie this in more loops, it would be an epic fail because I have tried it. It's very heavy ribbon. So the heavier the ribbon, my general recommendation is the heavier the ribbon is, the more apt you need to be to consider just tying inline bows. Now that velvet would be absolutely gorgeous on something. Okay, let's try something else here. Let's do a loopy bow. Let's do a loopy bow that is done with baker's twine. Wow, I gave you lots of baker's twine in this one. Here's another velvet ribbon. It's exactly the same thing as sparkle velvet. It's exactly the same thing. It is a little lighter weight than the regular velvet. You might get away with a double. We could try it. You might get away with a double, but you're probably not going to want to tie a fancy bow because it's so thick. But let's do this loopy bow first. First thing I want you to do is to fold this in half, because there's no sense sitting here feeding all these on individually when we could put them on 2 loops at a time. Let's tie it at about 4. And I'm just going to go back and forth, 4 to 4 to 4, as long as I have thread to handle it. And it looks like that's going to be about the end of it. We're going to come, we're doing it exactly the same way, except I'm tying all the loops at the same length. Hang on, this is very heavy when it's both through there. I got my thread stuck in the catcher. Okay, but now I got it. Make sure when you have all these loops in there, you want to make sure that you're tying that knot right at 0. So slide your yarn around a little bit if you have to make sure you're back over the 0 line. Let's tie this off. This is going to look good on really casual things. And here, this is actually the end of my yarn. And I'm going to clip that so it doesn't look like one of my loops. And one of the things I kind of like about these is that they're very casual, and yet they're kind of playful. And I like the fact that this almost looks butterfly-ish. See what I mean? It almost looks butterfly-ish. I like that bow a lot. Okay. And there's not a lot of waste in tying those. Want to see that one more time? We have 2 big pieces of, kind of gave me yard pieces. We could actually stand to have a little bit longer pieces of this one. Let's use this light green. It's pretty.
You could use 2 together and get longer.
Yeah, I could. Okay, well, let's try it. I don't know. I don't think I've ever done that. Bryce is encouraging me to run the yellow and green together. Let's try it. I've never done this before, but we'll find out how it looks, shall we?
No, don't double each one. Do each one as a single, which is a double, which then gives you your longer piece that you asked for.
Okay. He wants me to run 2 lines and run them singly.
Kim asks, isn't one of these bows named after Kathy Girl?
Yes, we'll be doing a Kathy Girly Girl bow in a minute here. I might need another piece of ribbon. No, this one will do it. We're going to use that piece right there to tie a Kathy Girly Girl bow in just a minute.
Yes, they're all wondering where Kathy Girl is. They haven't seen her.
Okay, I'm going 4 to 4 to 4 to 4 to 4, back and forth. Going to have lots of loops on this one. I don't know about this green and orange together. In a way, I guess maybe it's a little seasonal. Probably be more seasonal if it weren't light green, spring green. Okay, one more. I have lots of loops on this one for sure. Okay, down through the hole. Back up. Coming around. The other reason that it's a good idea to use double strands of baker's twine when you're tying these, is I'll tell you that it is actually easy to break when you do this, when you tie it off. Baker's twine really pulls tight, and it's all cotton. It's not a heavy. I'm going to tie that in a double knot just because I have so many strands. Although I shouldn't have tied it in a double knot because I could have tightened it a little bit more. Now there's a butterfly bow. That has lots and lots of strands in it. You could kind of position that out any way you wanted it to go, couldn't you? Well, there's a butterfly bow. I just call these loopy bows most of the time. Okay, time to do a Kathy Girly Girl bow. You ready? We're going to start with 3. Doesn't matter if you're on the blue comb or the pink comb, the dimensions are the same with this one. You might make a note of it. 3, 4, 5, 'See that we're doing okay back there. Now we're going to go to 4.
Kim asked me, is this the ultimate crafty challenge for Debbie?
Yeah. I actually think these bow makers are very, very easy to use. Just like everything else, it takes a little practice to get it, to get your tension just right. And, some people tell me they have a little more trouble getting the knots tight, that kind of thing. But I actually think this bow maker is incredibly simple to use because you do the same thing no matter what you're doing. You're winding around, picking up a single tooth. It's just the matter. Okay, so we did a 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. Lots of loops, okay? We went down through the hole like we always do. I'm going to try and look at both of the shiny front pieces as I tie it. And then I'm going to flip that over as I tighten it so the back of my ribbon is facing me, not the shiny side, but the back side of my ribbon is facing me, because I want the shiny side facing up. This is what it looks like from the back of my comb. This is what it looks like when you pull it off. This is an invention of our Kathy Girly Girl. Isn't that beautiful? Three, 4, 5, 4, 3.
Good night to Elsie.
Good night, Elsie. I also had a note here that Daria created something she calls her serendipity bow. Let me see if we can tie Daria's. I don't remember what this one is, to tell you the truth. Let's tie it in fluffy material and see what we think. Serendipity bow. She says she uses 4, 5, 5, and a 4, and a 5, and another 5. Obviously, as you can tell from all these recipes people have sent to me and have been included in our instructions, there's an infinite number of ways that you can use this tool. Sometimes, Sharma, when you're pulling it, make sure that you're tying your knot right at 0. Because you're coming back through, you could be anywhere along here. And if your bow is turning out lopsided, then try it again and make sure that your knot, when you tie it, is staying right at 0. Because that's probably what's happening if it's lopsided, is you're sliding over to 1 or 2, and then one side's going to be short and the other side's going to be overly long. Does that make sense? So let's see what our serendipity bow looks like. This was the one submitted by Daria. 2 little loops and, or excuse me, a little loop and 2 big loops above it. And then Kathy Girly Girl sent another one. Well, I don't know how you tie that though. I think I'll skip that for now. Okay, we've done, so let's just talk about what we've done so far. So far, we've tied singles, we've tied doubles, we've tied triples, we've tied a 5-1-5 or a 5-6-5 on the blueberry. Now remember that 5-1-5 or that 5-6-5, that can be any step number. So if I wanted to do a 4-5-4, that will work just as well. You're just skipping one number to tie that. My favorite one. We've done a loopy bow with fine material. We've done heavier materials, and we've done some inline bows. We've done the Kathy Girly Girl bow. We've tied 2 at once. Now I want to, I showed you this one before. Let's go ahead and try this one just because we have it sitting here and it's a beautiful piece of ribbon I don't want to skip.
Kim asks, are the bow recipes printed out?
No, they're not, but in one of our last classes, there is a video online. We actually made a bow board that has all of the samples on it. I recommend you do that. Make yourself a bow board, go back and watch the video, make note of them, and actually make up samples for yourself, because I'm taking that out because I was going to end up with too short of tails. This is a very short piece of ribbon. So I'm tying it at 4 and 4.
Catherine's asking, someone who begins with ribbon, or see, as someone who begins, what ribbon is best to start with?
Organza or Crepe. Organza is this one because it pulls up nice and tight. It gives you beautiful fluffy results and you don't have to work real hard at it. This is also organza. It just turns out beautiful no matter what. And the other one is crepe, because no matter what you're doing with it, it will pull tight. It will look gorgeous when you're done with it. Those are my 2 favorites for tying bows. Now, once you get a little bit more experienced with it, I probably use satin the most often because it gives a real elegant finish to things. This gives kind of a fairy softness. This one is just flat elegant and beautiful. So I'm trying to see if we can tie it double with this black, as I talked about. Maybe we could. I don't know. We're going to find out how well it works. Because you guys know me, I'm not at all opposed to experimenting. And if something's a fail, I'll call it a fail and I'll just do something different. Never tied double knots. Don't ever tie double knots in your bows. Oh, that's pretty. This is our black one. I tied it at a double. Now, doesn't that look like it's ready for a black tie affair? Huh?
Hold still.
It's so shiny that when I move it, it weirds out the camera. Isn't that gorgeous? This is a little heavier material. I wouldn't go any more than 2 loops with this because it's just too heavy. But isn't that pretty? Gorgeous. And I can fan those out a little bit to just really show off that. But isn't that pretty? Okay, I think we've pretty much hit everything. Oh, here's what I want to talk about. I have this ribbon that has writing on it. People are always asking me, how can I get my ribbon with writing to turn out good? My general impression is I don't like ribbon with writing on it because it's almost impossible to get the writing to be readable. It also tends to be done on grosgrain, which is not my favorite for this. But if you're going to use grosgrain, I recommend that you do an inline bow. Remember what an inline bow is? It is a simple, generally 1, it can be 2 loop bow that is just laid out on your card and wrapped around the edges, because that's about the only way you're going to get the writing to show.
What fabric was the glitter bow?
The glitter ribbon?
Yeah. What kind of? Glitter?
It's glitter ribbon. That's what it's called in our store.
That's what Mary R is asking.
So it's really, really difficult to get the writing to show. But if you put it on flat, you can get it on there. But see what I mean? You know, I kind of have partial words showing, and this just isn't my favorite. I don't love grosgrain for this, but you can tie singles in grosgrain. So that's my take on this ribbon. Now I will say that in my stash, I have black grosgrain that's lightweight grosgrain. And this one I actually can tie. This is a lighter weight. When I say grosgrain, that's the one with the little lines in it. It's kind of a woven and it's got little lines in it. You can tell this is not a real heavy one. It's kind of floppy. I think I could get a double bow here.
What length of ribbon do you cut if you're pre-cutting them?
I usually don't pre-cut them. I take my scissors and cut it off the spool right before I tie it. And that way I don't have any waste. But I can give you some approximate measures for what you'll need. You know, if you want to know if you're going to have enough to do something. A double usually wants about 2 feet, depending on the size. You know, you're going to tie it at 3, you're going to tie it at 4, you're going to tie it at 5. You know, it all matters. So it's kind of hard to give you an exact number. Now this one is a grosgrain. It's a floppy grosgrain though. And that tied really pretty and it doubled, didn't it? Now here's my recommendation
Still.
for this one. Okay, Bryce wanted me to show you this.
Gotta hold it really still to focus. Doesn't want to focus.
There it is. This one tied up really nicely as a double. My recommendation would be use this ribbon as your wraparound and use this one for your bow. It's just going to look better. You know, put it over here and then let the words show otherwise. It's just going to look better than this looks. I feel the same way. You can tie, you know, you have like these grosgrain Christmas ribbons and stuff. You can tie a ribbon in that, a bow in that heavier Christmas style grosgrain ribbon that you find everywhere at Christmas time. But you're going to have to pretty much tie a single because it's really heavy. I had some others here, but you know, I think we've touched on all the techniques. Let's hit this one. How much ribbon do I need? You know, what can I do with this little piece of ribbon? Well, I can always tie a single. You know, you saw it in the beginning when I was saying, well, I don't want to waste that, so I'm gonna tie another. You can usually tie a single if you have just a short piece of ribbon. This one is painted on organza. It's really pretty. It does have a front and back, but it's not terribly distinctive. So it'll work okay either way.
Say hi to Karen Williams.
Hi, Karen. We're tying bows. Lots and lots and lots of bows. We started by creating our bow pins. We're going to go back to those momentarily, and we're going to pop together our card. Here's a bow out of that simple piece of, it's 1 yard, or not 1 yard, 1 foot. It's a 1 foot piece of ribbon. And I'm going to get something really pretty out of it. Remember when I do my whale tails, I'll fold it like a taco, go upward towards the end of my ribbon. There's my pretty little bow. It's all ready to use.
So would you say it's like 1 foot for a single, 2 foot for a double, 3 foot for a Kathy girl on average?
Kathy girl's going to take like 4 feet because you're wrapping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Okay, I think we've hit on everything I wanted to hit on today. We have tied all of those bows, the single, the double, the triple, the 515. We've worked with the blue bow maker and the red bow maker. We've tied the loopy bows with super fine material. We have worked with grosgrain. We have done a Kathy girly girl bow. We've tied 2 at once. We have slid our sliders onto our bow. Is there anything you guys are still having questions about? Look at all these bows we've tied. Beautiful, beautiful bows. Gorgeous bows. Look at that, all that tied. Okay. I want to show you the piece that we put the glue on earlier. Here's the one we put the best glue ever on. You can see that it's shiny, but it's no longer white anywhere. This bow is ready to stick on to stay. You can see it's going to stick because it's sticking to my fingertips. It's definitely here to stay now. And that's going to be beautiful on something. So there you go. You know it's ready to use when it's shiny, but it has no white left on it. We put our bow pins together. This one got a little bit loose, but we're going to use it anyway. Okay. We have one piece of ribbon that was cut to make our bow for our card. Let's start with this one.
What is a single-sided ribbon?
Single-sided ribbon is when, just like this one, it's shiny or patterned on one side and dull on the back. This is single-sided ribbon, as opposed to this one, which is double-sided ribbon. When you buy by the yard from us, this is what you get. See that side shiny, but so is this side. So it's non-directional. You don't have to worry about which side's up. It doesn't influence your bow making a tremendous amount.
Karen says she couldn't get the hang of that glue.
Okay. Did you let that glue dry before you used it, Karen?
Dry to clear.
It has to dry to clear. There can't be any white left at all. So that's the difference between single-sided and double-sided ribbon. This one's a single-sided we're about to use. I'm going to leave a bit of a tail in my ribbon this time because I want to wrap it around my card. I'm going to tie a 4-5-4. Just means I'm going to go around 4, then I'm going to go around 5, both sides, which you do to one side, you have to do the other. I'm going to go around 4. Now I don't need to use the best glue ever if I'm securing my ribbon under my card layer. Then I don't need any glue at all. I probably, if I'm tying my bow right before I use it, I probably don't need to put tape in my satin bow to hold it so it won't slide because it's going right onto my card. If you're having trouble with your bows coming out lopsided, make sure that when you tie it in your half knot, that the knot itself is at 0, right at the opening of your comb. And we've got this pretty little burgundy bow tie, same way we've been tying them. So we have this. Let's get our card material here. And have to decide which part of my card I want to use. I'm going to put, I think I might take a rather unusual step of putting my bow and my bow pin down here over the writing. I could do it up here, but I think it's going to look really good down here. You guys know that I usually just attach my card to my base, cut around the outside, and I never measure anything. I have to measure this one. I have to cut this one to size because I'm going to wrap my ribbon around it. So I can't just glue it down to start with. So I know that this European A6 card should be, it's a little over 4 1/8, so it's a good thing I measured it. 4 1/8 plus a smidge, and 5 7/8. So I'm going to give it just a little bit of extra room there. And 5 7/8. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. Now, when I'm wrapping a ribbon around a corner, I like to take my ribbon and lay it upside down, pull my bow ends out straight, And what did I do with that tape I had here? There it is, right in front of my nose. Put my bow out straight and put my tape right over the back of my bow and right on down the sides of my ribbon. I do want to make sure that my ribbon is nice and flat so I don't have any little bunchiness that can happen when your tape goes on and your ribbon is not flat. That looks pretty good. This one looks like from the front. So I've got my tape right along there. I'm going to tear it in the middle. Well, that didn't tear real well, did it? Good night, Betty. I'm going to pull that paper off, and I'll pull it off the other way. I'm going to get all of my paper off. I'm going to position it where I want it on my card. And I think I'm going to kind of go a little bit. I'm not going to go straight across the corner. I'm going to go a little bit this way, which means I'm going to have to trim this extra piece I normally just put up the back. And I'm going to let this wrap over a bit. Oh, I just forgot something. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Okay, now I'm going to pull that off because I forgot something important. I forgot we were putting bow pins in. It'll be fine. I'm going to just lift this up very gently. Do not tear my paper because that will make me very sad. There we go. I had to lift it back up for a minute because I forgot I was putting bow pins in it. You have in your kit some foam squares. She could have given me. Good night, Martha. Beacons. I'm just gonna, just in the interest of time. Well, that's a big one. I don't think I want one that big. I'm going to use a couple good sized pieces of foam square. You can either build this with the little pieces or you can do what I'm doing and cut up a bigger piece. I'm going to put 2 layers of foam squares under my bow because I need to have some place to catch my pins. Could have had those just a little narrower, but I'm not going to redo that at this point. Oops. Okay, now I'm going to take my bow pins. I'm going to feed them through that foam.
See what you're doing?
Yeah, and the challenge will be here that they haven't had a lot of time to dry and we didn't use the best adhesive for these. So my beads are trying to slide down. I think I can still make it work, but I'm going to have to work it a little bit. And I'm going to push it right through that foam. And all of these are coming loose. That's why I recommend that crystal lacquer because it really does a good job of holding these beads once it sets, and it does take a while to set, but once it sets, those beads are not going anywhere. They're going to stay right where you put them, which is why I put that in your bead kit, in your bow pin kit. But bow pins do look particularly pretty when we put them in your bow. Now, I usually just, it doesn't bother me at all to have the stems of my pins hanging down. I usually just let the bow pins go on through. They're not sharp, it's not dangerous, and it looks great. Let's put this on our card base. What other questions do you guys have for me about bow pins, about using your Embellishment bow maker, about types of ribbon, anything at all that any questions at all? I have something new to show you today. I'm excited about. It's the next kit we will have up. It's not up yet, but it's the next kit we will have. I'm going to go ahead and lay this card face we have all prepared now on top of my card with my tape on it. I'm pushing my pins down a little further than I otherwise might because they're loose. The beads are loose, and by pushing them down, I can keep the beads where they're supposed to be. Any questions at all, guys? If there aren't any questions, we're going to go ahead and take a look at my newest sample. Didn't that turn out pretty? That'd be something you'd be proud to give. Okay. Starting Thursday, we will not have class kits for a week because starting Thursday, we're talking about cold foiling. Then we're going to talk about hot foiling with a machine. And finally, the following Thursday, we're going to talk about toner foiling with a laminator, a mink. We're also going to talk about using a Cricut machine with the We Are Memory Keepers and with the We Are Memory Keepers Freestyle. So we got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about with foiling. I think we'll answer most of your questions. And then rather than having a kit, I'm going to show you the supplies that can be used for the technique we're talking about on this class. So there won't be any class kits for the next 3 classes. But for the class following that, we're going to do Halloween, and we're going to do Halloween much differently. Here's my first card. This is a technique from Graphic 45. I need to credit that. I used my own paper ideas, but we're going to make these. If you're wondering, this is from the Midnight Tales collection. Midnight Tales. Let's open that one more time just because it's fun. Peekaboo.
I'll move the bow maker, it's distracting.
Sure. This is my first, well, this is just one of the three. It's not really my first, it was my last. These are called shutter cards, and we'll be making them together. And you're not going to be intimidated about that because we are going to do it together. This is my next one. Oh, here we go with the belly band stuff again. Brittany will be putting together a kit for this. We're going to make 3 cards together. You'll have enough paper and materials to make many more if you want to. You just have to add your own cards for the remainder. Shutter cards. So we're going to make these together. The kit will be coming probably this week. Brittany was waiting for me to put together some samples, and she left her expectation that I would have something inspiring for her when she got back. This is her Graphic 45 Midnight Tales card kit. You're going to get plenty of materials in this. Like I said, we'll make 3 cards together, but once you've done 3, you're going to want to do more. And I'll make sure you have plenty of paper in here to do them. We're going to make 3, but you'll have lots of paper. I'm going to send with you, I don't remember exactly how many. I'm going to say there's 8 or 10 12 by 12 sheets. It takes quite a bit because you cover all the surfaces. And you're going to have a sheet of chipboard because we use chipboard pieces. And you're going to have a packet of journaling cards. So when you're done making shutter cards, you will still have ample material to make other Halloween cards if you want to. You're going to have plenty of material to work with. So we'll make 3 in class because that will keep us pretty busy making 3. I assure you, it will keep us pretty busy making 3 of these. But what fun these are. I love these cards, and they were great fun to make. So shutter cards, and your kits will be up later in the week for this. Shutter cards using Graphic 45 Midnight Tales. Questions, comments, or you guys like these cards?
Yeah, good comments.
Spooktacular. Yeah, these are going to be great fun to make. Great fun. And you will really enjoy the process, I think. So much that you're going to want to make. You're going to want to make several more, and you will have ample materials in terms of the chipboard pieces, the journaling cards, and your background paper to make lots more cards. I'm just going to build the kit with the idea that you're making 3. Okay. So, if there are no questions or comments or pearls of wisdom, We will next get together on Wednesday for What's New Wednesday. That's at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thursday, we'll start our series on cold foiling. There will be no class kit for that, so you don't have to have a class kit to worry about. And on Saturday, we're continuing our class on foiling. That's when we're going to do the hot foil machines. So if you've been waiting to have a class in hot foil machines, and I know several of you have commented, you really want to see that, that's next Saturday. And we'll finish off the series the following Thursday with Margie and I presenting on using toner foiling, which is what's involved in the mink or in lamination foiling and other machines. So we've got some really, really good, super, super duper informative stuff coming up for you. If you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss this. This is good stuff. And you're not going to want to miss how to make these gorgeous graphic 45 cards. We will, if you have enjoyed tonight's class, hit that like button. It's super important that YouTube knows that that you guys are enjoying this class and that you guys find it to be a good use of your time. So if you haven't hit that, please hit that like button. And I'm going to say, if there's no other questions, then I'm going to say good night, Gracie.